Good evening, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to recall a true story from my past, and this is some 25 years ago is when it happened. That's the time frame, about the turn of the millennium. I was living in Seattle working for a small restaurant chain in the corporate headquarters, actually running the IT department for the restaurant chain, and I was accused of something. That's the point of this story. I was accused of something. There was not a great deal of evidence or animosity towards me, but there was, well, I'll tell you the story. So it started in California. I didn't start in Seattle with this job. I got a job with the company as a dishwasher and worked my way up through supervisor, store manager, shift manager, store manager, and then I got an offered a position in the corporate headquarters running their IT department. And everything was going great, except the company was struggling. They changed their name, and it turned out to be a really bad move because they lost a lot of recognition. The restaurant started losing business. It became unprofitable. That's not really the point here, but they had to basically sell the California division to the Seattle division. They had a sister branch up in Seattle. There are only 2 branches. It's not a huge restaurant chain, and the name of it isn't important. They are still operating, but that's not the point. So the California branches, there was like 16 locations, give or take, in California at the time. They had to mostly be liquidated and sold, and the remaining stores and equipment and everything were basically sold to the Washington State branch. They came down, they did their surveys, they made an offer, and they kept what they could, and the rest of it just got liquidated. So among the assets that the company assessed were human resources, and I was among the human resources, being in the corporate headquarters at the time of the closure, and they offered me a job up in Seattle. So I took it. I said, hey, you know, wow, what an adventure. I've never even been to Washington. I mean, I was up there a long, long time ago, but I was a kid. And so I took the job, and I actually lived up there and worked up there for a couple of years. It worked out really well. So my first job, long story short, my first task from my new boss was to take all of the equipment from the server room. If you've been in an office, there's usually some kind of server room that has just tons of junk and, you know, stuff that is mostly antiquated or obsolete, and there's just spare parts, usually a lot of cables, and that's exactly what this was. It was really messy, and they unfortunately did not give me a lot of access to the planning as far as transportation goes. I was told this is the truck that you need to use to put your inventory in as the new department manager for Seattle, the Seattle office. I said, okay. So I did my best. Actually, you know, I went around the server room and around the office, and I took all of the stuff that I could find and put it into this truck. It was like a U-Haul that was already full, and I got to a point where the truck was completely full, and if I kept piling stuff on, I was quite sure that something was either going to fall out or break, and there was just literally no room left. And honestly, most of this stuff that was left in the server room at this point was in such bad shape by appearance, and it hadn't been touched. It was all covered in dust and cobwebs, and I'm like, you know what, this is just got to go in the dumpster then, because we're not going to use this stuff, I'm quite sure. And here's the mistake I made. What I should have done is either talk to somebody about it, or tried to force it, or allocated another truck. But I did not do that. What I ended up doing was I took the small amount of equipment that was left that there was no room for, and this might have been a test on purpose. They might have given me too small of a truck on purpose just to see how I handled it. I don't really know, but what I did wasn't quite right. But it's not what I ended up getting accused of, and that's the point of this video. So I took these few items, which included, a couple of old computers, like just busted up old hard drives with no peripherals, no monitors. They were just trashed. They looked like trash, and I was pretty sure they were trash. And I took them downstairs. I was going to throw them in the trash. That was my goal. My car was parked right next to it, and I'm like, instead of just throwing this stuff away, what if there's some kind of use for it? It's not going to fit in the moving truck. Everybody's busy. Half the people are already up in Seattle, and we got a time crunch here. So I was told to hurry up and get it done. So I threw like 3 of these old messed up hard drives into my trunk of my car, right? So, okay, we head up to Seattle. You know, it's just asses and elbows. We all get up there, and I unload the stuff, and there's kind of a big, spacious storage room, and I take out all the equipment that I moved, stuck it in the storage room up there, and I start doing my job, right? So I'm actually getting into it. There's a number of locations up there. I've got to survey them. Do all my stuff. I worked at this place for, like I said, 2 years total, and just after about the first year, I noticed a little bit of friction. Now, I don't have a huge amount of office experience. I'm, only, 25 years old about this time. I don't have a lot of interpersonal experience working in offices, and I probably should have picked up on some of the nonverbal communication sooner. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that there were a couple of people who really didn't seem to like me at all in the office, and they were managers, like the high regional managers, not just shift managers or store managers. They were regional, and they were like operating directly under the CEO and the chief of operations. So I couldn't just dismiss these people, and they were giving me just some really nasty looks. And long story short, again, I ended up taking a vacation. Like a legitimate vacation. So I actually requested time off. I requested a couple of weeks off. I flew to Iceland and met my friend there, and we spent some time there. It was not a very good time because everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was terrible, but it was a real vacation. I really went, and I came back. My job was still waiting for me, of course, and I found out while I was gone that there was a rumor going around that I never even went, that I had just lied about the whole thing, and everyone in the office seemed to think that I didn't even, go where I said I was going, and suddenly everybody in the office didn't like me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And so, another 6 months goes by, and nothing really improves. I'm not getting any kind of, recognition or respect from these managers who have seemed to hate me the whole time. And then we were co-located with the Applebee's headquarters. There's an Applebee's up there, and the CEO of the Applebee's office approached me one day, and he said, because I had been doing installations, I had been putting this equipment into the restaurants up there as needed. When things would break down, I would dip into our inventory and replace printers, thermal printers, wires, whatever. And we ran out of hard drives, right? At some point, a year and a half into my job, there were no more viable, usable hard drives. So I requisitioned some more. I said, hey, we're going to need something. And all this time, these boxes that I had thrown in my trunk were sitting in my way in the back of my closet somewhere in the apartment that I got, and they were just sitting in there. And this Applebee's CEO comes out and he says, "Oh, you're all out of hard drives, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I had honestly completely forgotten about this stuff. Like, the connection wasn't there. So, and then he's just all, okay then. And then he was all cryptic about it. Turns out, I put it all together eventually. I went and I looked very closely at the hard drives that were the big boxes, actually, that were remaining in the storeroom from the original trip. And I noticed something. Right before I ended up moving back to California, I noticed something. Up in the top corner of these boxes, there was a tiny, almost unreadable number written in pencil graphite. Each box that remained, and there were only a handful left, had a little number written on them. So I put it together finally. What had happened was this man named Tony White, who was he was kind of a dick, and he was one of these people who just never gave me a shred of respect or credit whatsoever the whole time I was there. He had gone in when they offered me this job for whatever reason, and he just decided to pencil his little numbers on all the boxes. So you can see what happened. After I delivered everything to the best of my ability, without any kind of input as far as the size of the truck or anything, he just assumed that I had stolen some stuff right off the bat, like maybe months after I started my job, maybe before that. He had looked at the numbers. He says, "Oh, hey, here goes 1, 3, 4, 6. Where's the rest?" I'm guessing that's what happened. So my point, in conclusion, just before 10 minutes, I ended up leaving that job on my own terms. I didn't get fired, and they never even came out and told me what the issue was, but for like a year and a half while I was working there, it was awkward and uncomfortable, and people were giving me just the worst attitude. Some people were. My boss was actually still pretty cool, but he was still like, yeah, I don't know if I believe you about everything, but I'll work with you. And come to find out, they had denied me a vote of confidence in a very serious and specific way, created a prophecy where they decided, just without any kind of hearing, without any kind of question or preamble, that I was a thief. Categorically, I was ripping off the company. I was guilty as hell, according to them, when that's not even close to what happened. And they never even had the guts to reproach me about it. So my lesson from all this, I ended up leaving. I got a better paying job back in California. I moved back to California, and the rest is history. But people will do this. They'll deny you a chance to defend yourself. They'll jump to conclusions. They will surveil you covertly. They will assume things incorrectly. They will spread disease about you behind your back, and they will do it with total confidence, and they don't care if they're wrong. They will rely only on their own systems, such as they are, and they will give you no chance for appeal whatsoever. And this is the lesson I learned. You cover your ass not because you're not doing the right thing, not because it's dangerous to be too close to that line of impropriety, not because of that, but because other people, you can count on them being absolute dirtbags. You can count on them just being the most insidious, trash-talking, mistrustful, backstabbing people that you can possibly meet. And there's always a few of them in every single office that I've worked in. There's always some people that just, they're just slimy, nasty people, and they will stab you in the back. They'll start by stabbing you in the back. They'll assume everything, and they'll just tell everybody stuff that just isn't remotely true, and you'll never even know that they're saying it. You'll never even know. To this day, I am very obviously upset that I was thought to be a thief when that's never even what happened. I mean, granted, there was a point where I should have brought back what was left in my closet, and it didn't even occur to me at that point, but that's not because I tried to steal it. It's because of the circumstances, and yes, I would do it differently next time, but I also wouldn't wait a year and a half while people were thinking things that weren't true about me. I'm not a thief, and I don't appreciate that stuff. I worked very, very hard, and I think I could have gone further in that company and springboarded onto something better in Seattle if it weren't for the reputation that Tony White and some of those other douchebags had spread about me. I hope that dude's rotting in the dirt right now. I hate to say it, but some people, man, they just do no good. They do no good in their entire lives. Nobody liked that guy back then, and I can't imagine it's different now, and that's just how I feel. So, I hate to end on a negative note, but the positive note, I guess, is I never repeated that mistake. I never even understood it until years later when I thought about it so hard. I'm like, man, that really sucked. And I figured it out. I finally figured it out. So be warned. People are dirtbags. Reach out if you like with comments below. Thank you.